Hey, pivoters! Welcome to episode 4. We are on episode 4 of the Athletic Pivot Podcast. I'm hyped up. I'm excited because consistency, baby. Consistency, baby. We are here, episode 5, and we still have more episodes to give y'all. Y'all just wait. But today, we're going to be talking about two main things, which is identity crisis and the question of what's next that many athletes deal with. And with identity crisis, like, it has been known to be one of the biggest struggles with most former athletes. I won't say all, because some figure it out. But for most former athletes, it's a huge struggle in life after sports. And athletes are typically, for years, defined by their sports for so long that, they don't recognize the person that's in front of them once they're done competing. So, like, retiring athletes, it's definitely not an easy task to try to figure out exactly who you are. It means walking away from many years of blood, sweat, tears. I mean, literally walking away from years of blood, sweat, and tears. And it's also the realization that the cheers from the roaring crowds and the encouragement from your coaches and the encouragement from your teammates are literally, like, now a thing of the past. And life after sports is definitely so much more than a career switch. It's a lifestyle change. It's a great adjustment that you're not used to when it's time to transition. And for many, sports give athletes a sense of belonging, a sense of meaning. And when it's time to transition in life after sports, many athletes state that, one, they don't know how to define themselves because they've been defined by one thing for so many years. Their sport is who they are as a person. They don't see themselves doing anything other than their sport. And their sport allowed them to be themselves. It allowed them to release. It allowed them to be themselves in their fullest. And, as a former athlete, I can definitely relate. Track, I won't say it was my alter ego, but it definitely, I was somebody else that I enjoyed. Like, the competitiveness of the sport, the adrenaline that you would feel it's a totally different feeling that puts you in a different mood. So I can get that point of it. Like, it's just, you're somebody that you just love. But although it may seem like you may not love anything more than your sport, it is definitely possible. Okay, because you start to begin to understand, like, who you are and the things that interest you behind your sport. And change is a very, 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 very important part of the process in life in general. Like, change is good. Change is necessary. And, it can be positive if you take the time to really pivot what the new you looks like in life after sports. For most athletes, the idea of life after sports is not just something that they planned for. For me, it wasn't something that I planned for. I was basically just thrown into it, like most adults, right? But it's a little different for athletes. But just like athletes, are able to grow within their sport, athletes can definitely grow in life after sports in ways that they could never imagine. And that's something that I was just shocked with, the way that in which I grew in life after sports, because I didn't know that I could become this person that I am today. But it took years and years and years and years of understanding, like, where I am right now and fully understanding and embracing the process. Because that's something that you have to do. You have to fully embrace the process. You have to go through the ups and downs of this whole process. Because if you don't, you're going to feel like every single day is a mental breakdown. Like, you have to go through the days trying to figure out, like, okay, what did today teach me? How can I use what I did today to help fuel tomorrow? I'm trying to tell you, it's literally like a puzzle. Like, you have a big puzzle and you're trying to put all the pieces together, but they're like, the puzzle pieces are all scrambled all over the table. You're looking here, it doesn't fit. Gotta start all over. Look again. Find this puzzle piece. Doesn't fit. Have to look again. So like once you start putting the pieces together and they start fitting, that's when you say, okay, I get it. I understand why it took so long to get this piece and put it here. Why this piece didn't fit here, or why this piece fits perfectly. It's a process. You have to understand the process. It's not going to be easy. Growth is not easy. But again, once you start figuring out the different aspects of yourself and you start figuring out the different puzzles and you start putting them together, it's a light bulb moment. Promise you that it's a light bulb moment. Okay? Take my word for it. Take my word for it. Because the pieces that I kept trying to put together, they wasn't piecing. They wasn't coming together. They were not coming together. And I was like, what is going on? But the years of just sticking to it, starting over sometimes and sticking to it pays off. And I know that as athletes, when we get to the point of asking like, what's next? Which is definitely a common question that student athletes often ask themselves, because once you realize that graduation is right around the corner, it's like, you have no clue what you're getting ready to do for the rest of your life. But you also have to realize that student is placed in front of athlete because being a student comes before athletics. But unfortunately, most collegiate athletes have the hopes that, and I won't say unfortunately, but most collegiate athletes have the hopes and dreams that they will have the opportunity to make it to the professional level in their various sports. And the reality of it is that less than 2% of us will actually have the opportunity to become a professional because it's extremely low. It's extremely limited. And, I'm not saying don't go for your dreams. Like if being a professional athlete is your dream, go for it. I went for it. You know what I mean? Go for it, because if you don't go for it, then who will? But you have to realize that having the opportunity to become a professional athlete sometimes is just not reality for everybody. And reality hits you fast when you're done with school and you're done with your collegiate career and it's all over and you start asking the question of what's next. It's a question that I ask myself, because I started to realize like I need to start focusing on transitioning or pivoting into life after sports, because obviously it's not going to be here forever. And like I said in episode 3, you're going to be experiencing some things that you're just like, whoa, I was not ready for. Like you might experience. And this is not for everybody. I want to make sure that it's clear. This is not for everybody. Everybody doesn't go through this, but it is common for a lot of athletes to go through this. So that's why I want to talk about it. Like it is possible for you to go through depression and grief and anxiety, loss of identity. Like I just talked about. You may experience changes that are unusual to you. One of the big changes that I've experienced, and I probably will talk about this in one of the later podcasts, but body image. It's like, whoa, you go from being tip-top shape to kind of being in shape, and your muscles aren't always there, and your stamina is not always there unless you stay as consistent as you were when you do your sport. You have to realize that these changes are going to come, and that's something you got to adapt to. That can be hard for some people too. And along with that, you might experience like things like lack of commitment, like I talked about last week. You're going to lose friends or supporters. You might even fall out of love with your sport. I know I did for a period of time. Lack of discipline, and you might experience defeat in a different way. Because defeat in sports is like, oh, I lost to this competitor. What can I do? What can I do differently next week in the game or next week at the track meet that I didn't do this week? In life after sports, it's like, I didn't get the job. What can I do to adjust my resume to make it more appealing? Or what can I do in the interview process? Or what can I say in the interview process that can help me for my next interview? So you may experience defeat, but it's going to be in a different way. You're going to have to learn how to navigate that defeat, just like you learn how to navigate defeat in your sport. But yeah, like above the things that I just named are definitely common narratives that most, not all, former athletes have experienced or will experience. And like I said last episode, you're I am not even naming the surface of the things that some people might even experience. And along with those things, you start to notice a range of emotions in yourself that you didn't even know that you could experience. And oftentimes it's going to be hard to understand those emotions, and you're going to be surprised that you may feel all those emotions at once. And athletes have been trained to process defeat, like suck it up, keep going within your sport. But no one prepares you for the internal processing that occurs when you're experiencing personal adversities in life after sports. And I definitely experienced those personal adversities and those personal defeats, and I was not prepared for that at all, because I wasn't. Being an athlete, you are trained definitely to suck it up. You are trained to learn what you need to learn from that defeat and move on. And I didn't totally process that right away. It wasn't until years I started to realize it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. I just need to learn what I need to learn from that defeat and apply it to my life and what I can do better for the next time. But it's like you're thrown in the woods and you have to find your way with no direction or no GPS, and that's fine. And just know that you are not alone. There's a community of athletes that are experiencing those range of emotions as well. And you don't have to do it on your own. There are ways to process those emotions so that when you do transition, you have some sense of direction, a sense of purpose, a sense of pivoted identity and direction. So one tip that I want to leave with you guys is, when you start thinking about those range of emotions or experiencing those range of emotions during the whole process of your identity crisis and trying to figure out what's next, the tip I want to leave for you is to write them out and name those emotions. Name exactly what you are going through. Name exactly what you are feeling. Name how these emotions are making you feel. Because it's important to name those emotions and how they're making you feel, and how, and so that you are aware that you are actually experiencing them. Because sometimes you just go day to day and you just it is what it is. I don't care. I'm just feeling depressed and sad, and I don't want to get out of bed. But it's important for you to name how you're feeling. I don't want to get out of bed because I am feeling sad about this and it's making me feel this way. So name those experiences that you are going through. And I say this because we need to understand our emotions so that we can assess how to move forward. We have to be honest. We have to be open with ourselves, because the moment that we become honest and open with ourselves, we can, like I just said, assess where we are and then assess where we can move forward. But we can't assess we cannot assess on how to move forward unless we name the things that we are going through and how we can process them, and how we can process them, and how we can give you tips, or how you can begin to overcome those emotions and learn how to process them and learn how to move forward with them. Because if not, we're going to be stuck in that same place. We're going to feel stuck, and we're going to feel like we don't know what to do. But once we name and address those emotions, we can move forward and figure out ways to process and address those emotions. So be honest, be open with yourselves so that we can know how to move forward and we can release those emotions. Okay? So hopefully you guys found this episode helpful. I'm naming some things that some people don't even realize that they go through. And I'm going to continue to name those things because they need to be talked about. So pivoters, leave some comments below, questions, thoughts. I want to hear from you after this episode. So hopefully I can hear from you guys soon. And make sure you stay tuned for episode 5.